But now as I look back, that discount actually has very little to do with why I'm still there.
Welcome to the Other 99% podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Duck, a coffee loving direct sales enthusiast who's obsessed with a good digital system. Come join me for a realistic look into the world of direct sales. We'll explore inspiring perspectives, learn about unique business tips, and celebrate success stories that often go untold. Because on the other 99%, every seller matters. Hey everyone, it is me, Lisa, and welcome back to another episode of the Other 99%. I am here today with my friend Melissa that I have met through the Modern Direct Seller Academy. And I'm so excited for her to share her story and all her things with you. So I'm going to jump right in and I'm going to ask Melissa, why don't you share a bit about yourself and tell us what led you to direct sales?
Well, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I had told you that, I've like dreamt of writing and podcasting and didn't really know where to start. So I love that you gave me this in the meantime. But my name is Melissa Thury, and I live in Jamestown, North Dakota, with my husband, Jeremy. We've been married for about 14 years. And then we have two daughters. Ramsey just turned 13, and Merritt will be 9 in March. Uh, with a teenager, you don't do a lot as a group of four.
Mhm.
We do love playing games. We love traveling. We love camping. And obviously, reading is a big passion for us. I joined Paper Pie back when it was Usborne Books and More in November of 2017. It was kind of a fun journey. I thought about it for a year and finally decided to leap into it. I loved the products. We owned a lot of the products. And I'm a very logical, reasonable thinker. And one day I was like, you know what? I could have earned X amount of dollars in commission for all this product I've bought from somebody else. So
Mhm.
why don't I just go for it? But now as I look back, that discount actually has very little to do with why I'm still there. I'll
Mhm.
definitely still take 25% off, but it doesn't mean as much as it used to.
Yeah, it definitely the reasons why you joined definitely evolve over time, right? I mean, I could think back as saying, yeah, why not come in for like the great discount? But yeah, you stay for the community, you stay for the people that you meet, you stay for the extra income, like is always a great thing. But yeah, I totally get it. So
Yeah.
Paper Pie, which is probably I think it's still Usborne in Canada, correct? Is that or is it
Yes.
Paper Pie
So
up?
no, that was a change for us born in the United States.
Okay.
And it really had to do with trying to encompass all the products that we really offer. It used to be books. It was Kane Miller and Usborne Books. But we added puzzles and we added learning palettes and wrap-ups. And now we have Steam game or Steam activities and games. So really that name shift was just to really better encompass everything that we can offer to people.
Okay. Yeah, because I know we have listeners in both countries and like
Yeah.
Usborne and but they're the same company, just different I guess different regions and stuff like that. But so tell me, it's probably going to be a hard one to do, but what is your favorite product in your company and why do you love it so much?
So I definitely find that my favorite product changes with our season of life. And as my girls get older, I joined, and my absolute favorite thing, the thing that got me hooked was the Usborne My First Reading Library, like the 50 book Learn to Read collection. And I really give that set of books a lot of credit for both of my girls gaining strength as readers. And we've been very fortunate to, pass that along now.
That's
I
awesome.
love the learning ballot. My youngest daughter is a very active learner, recently diagnosed with ADHD, but the learning palette really gives us an opportunity to teach without it feeling like learning and allowing her body to be active. But for me, my personal favorite is anything by Sally Rippin. She is an incredible author from Australia. She's a great ambassador to Paper Pie. She writes the Billy B. and Hey Jack early chapter books. Polly and Buster was something that came out a few years ago. Actually, no, now that I think about it, it's been 5 or 6 years. But fantasy option for a little bit older readers. Personally, I loved it. And then a couple years ago, she came out with a book targeted at adults that Paper Pie also carries called Wild Things. Sally became an author because she had a son who struggled with reading disorders and he couldn't read the content that was being given to him in school. So she gave him another avenue. And it was just a really interesting read to see the struggles that she had as a mother, plus her path through the educational system and talking to professionals. And now myself having a neurodivergent child who I can definitely see how that impacts her reading and learning. It was such a great read, and I really do recommend it to anybody.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think reading is a huge thing. Like, I mean, we really do need to focus on that in like schools and at home and all that stuff because there's so many people who fall through the cracks, especially up here in Canada, that, they can't read and it's not fair. It's not fair. You can't really get through life without being able to read a simple book. So,
Well, and it's
yeah.
really sad families don't see the value in it. I do a lot of in-person events, and it's very discouraging and disheartening to see parents push their kids away from books towards toys and gadgets and, things that as parents we're going to throw away in the
Hmm.
next week, most likely. But the thing I love about in-person events is I get to see kids interact with the books. Like they're
Yeah.
not always the most best business decision. You don't
Right.
always make them with money. But for me, like I love seeing kids touch the books and get excited about the books. And that's why I like working with schools and libraries and going to these live events. It's a lot of work, but like really that's where my happy place is.
Well, it's funny you say that because I remember back when my kids are now 18 and 20, but back when they were in school, like, Mom, it's the book fair. Can we go to the book fair? And they're in there and they're like looking at all the books. And yeah, it was fun to see all the kids. And you'll see like kids running to the next book and then picking it up, leafing through the pages, and then it's exciting. Like they're
Yeah.
excited about it. So keep that excitement for sure. All right. So this might be a little bit of a hard one because I want you to think back to, you said you started in 2017.
Yeah.
So think back to the first year that you started. You said you came in for the discount. What do you think that you learned through that first year that helped you grow in your direct sales business?
Boy. I think back and I just remember like I'm a hop in feet first person and I just kind of ran with it and thought I was on my own. I remember building my own party scripts and just kind of thinking I had to trudge my own path. And as I think back, I'd say I needed to be more willing to lean into my team and let somebody coach me and mentor me. But the other thing is I spent a lot of time trying to be somebody I don't think I really was. And I think we can all kind of relate to this is, this person's at the top of their game, so I need to be X, Y, and Z to be like them. But really, I just needed to be me. And as I've grown, I do think I've become a little bit more authentic, a little bit more honest, probably sometimes more honest than people want to see out of me. Um, but comparison is the thief of joy, and I really had to get over that mindset in those first 1 or 2 years that I had to be like somebody else to be successful in this business.
Yeah, funny you say that because I was just having a conversation yesterday with someone and they're struggling and I just kept on repeating it's like you need to be your authentic self. Like
Yeah,
really, people know, like, and trust you for a reason. And, they're going to purchase stuff from you because you're you. So don't
yeah,
try to be someone else. So focus on how you can provide them service, how you can provide them joy. And I love what you said that, you thought you had to do it all yourself. And I think many people coming in this business think that they do need to do it all by themselves, but there are tons of support out there from your upline, from your sidelines, from other um people in the industry. Like I
yeah,
did my best. I think I see my most growth when I figured out that I can go outside of my company and still learn how to run my business, right?
yep,
Because there are so many other direct sales people who are willing to share their knowledge and stuff like that. And you just have to tweak it a bit. You just have to tweak what they're telling you and you can apply it because I always say direct sales is direct sales. It just, you're selling a different product, right?
yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
So that leads us into maybe a next question about, have you yourself faced any obstacles in your direct sales journey that you've had to overcome? Like, is there something that you've run like
Oh,
into a brick wall and something or
I think we'd all be kidding ourselves if we say we haven't faced some sort of obstacle. The funny thing about myself, and I'm just a very practical, to the point person. And I've always, when people have, given me their excuses for why they can't host, why they can't join, I've always been like, well, it's not you that's sick. And it's like, well, we never have time. You just make time. But definitely in the last couple of years, um, I have faced some of those challenges, and I think it allowed me to relate a little bit better to people. So when I started in 2017, I was working full time, like 40 hours a week, and I just kind of did my business when I could, work it when you can. Lunch breaks, in the line at the grocery store, after the kids went to bed, and I am not a morning person or a night person. So it was hard. Like I'd get up early, I'd get up 5 a.m. to be able to work a little bit before they went to school. At one point, working full time, I was a project manager for a rollout at my full-time job. I was working 50, 60 hours a week, and I was still working my business because it was important to me. And I've worked part-time, I've worked like an as needed, and now I'm what my friends call a semi stay-at-home mom. Um, because I do have another job that I do outside this that's a little unconventional, but really works for our family. So, really I've just learned to work my business in all of those seasons of life. And I've really adapted how I work my business to what's happening. One thing it did teach me when I was sitting there trying to work my business and working 60 hours a week is, I joined this because I wanted to do something great for my kids, and I am hurting my family. So really my most important thing has always been to work my business in the way that benefits my family. But a real mindset shift came in 2022. We were going through a move.
Mhm.
And my husband actually moved 3 months before us. So I was kind of like single parenting it. And that makes it, that gives you some obstacles. And I was starting a brand new job. And then the other thing was I lost my mother-in-law 3 days after or 2 weeks after we moved. She went in the hospital 3 days after we moved in 2022. It was very unexpected. Um, and I just did not expect the emotional toll that took on me. And I lost all interest in my business at the end of 2022.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was like, oh, like I can understand all these objections people have had
Mhm.
for the last 5 years. So it's just kind of funny how you need that personal impact to really get it. But I do think when I decided that I was ready to work my business the best I could in 2023 again, having that shift to, people matter
Yeah.
was huge. And I think that was the big thing. And that has to do a lot with what I've got going on in my business right now is people matter and communities matter. And that is where I need to be showing up and showing love.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. All right. So I didn't know that you were a project manager in your day job in your past life or
I
so
did
this
healthcare admin for 12 years, alongside my book business for 6 of it. So
Yeah, so this might be an interesting question to ask you. So
yeah.
what do you feel that your strengths are and how does it help you in your business?
Oh, well, my strengths kind of keep the wheels on in our personal life too, but definitely organized. My mom might walk into my house and see complete disarray, but I can tell you where everything is, even if it looks like you wouldn't know. But
Hmm.
if you look in my office, like everything has a place, everything has a time. And I really do think that helps me be able to just say, I'm going to work and sit down and work, and I'm not fumbling with what might be happening around me or the mess. I have, I would say, pretty top-notch time management skills, and that kind of goes with work business in all seasons of life and knowing when you have to work your business. I try very hard not to be sitting at my computer once my kids get home from school, because that's not what I want to be. I want to be a mom and I want to be a wife, and I want them to see me work, but I don't want them to see me working instead of being with them and making them a priority. So,
Yeah.
um, and then kind of coming back to that authenticity and honesty, I think the people that have hung out with me for those 7 years or close to it have really come to value that. There are people that see me being my real self on my personal Facebook page, and I think that's a big thing is just being yourself because that's what people want.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm just curious. So when things like feel like they're coming to a lull or get like stagnant in your business and you don't feel like it's moving, how do you stay motivated? How do you get motivated to keep things or get things rolling again?
Yeah. I think you kind of mentioned our community.
Hmm.
And I always say, in my book business, I have two tribes. I have my book tribe of people, and I have my modern direct seller tribe of people. And everybody brings something different to the table, and each individual brings value to the table. But having those regular meetings and those face to faces and having people holding you accountable really pushes you, I think, to up your game. And then the other thing really is just my love for books and reading and my passion for literacy. And Paper Pie gives me a great vehicle for that. Because otherwise I'm just some random person raving about the importance of reading.
Yeah, for sure. Sure. Okay, I want you to give our listeners a piece of advice. So if you could go back at the to the beginning of your business, I know that you said you should have leaned into your team, but what is one thing that you could tell somebody just beginning their journey in direct sales that you could do differently to make your business better at the beginning? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I think if I was giving advice to somebody else, I would say, lean into your team. Use the resources that are available. You're not on your own. But really, when I reflect on my own business, to give a fluffy answer, I don't believe in regrets. I think that if I had done any one thing different in those 7 years, the outcome could be completely different too. So maybe I had to do that first year on my own and realize it wasn't the way to do it to feel how I do now. Or, maybe I had to ride some of those major downfalls or those points where I was stuck to really know how much I appreciate it. So I don't know that I regret anything, but when I bring new people into our team or I'm having those conversations, I say, you have all of these people here that are wanting to love and support you, and you don't need to do this alone. And, this should not be a headache or hard for you.
Yeah. I agree so much because that is the one thing that I'm a leader in my Epicure business, and I always tell people it's like I am here for you. Like you just need to know that you need to reach out to me and I will support you in no matter what. But I'm not the type of leader, and you probably have the same kind of leader that I'm not going to chase you because
Right.
I don't want to feel like I'm pushing or doing anything like that. But I will put those little nudges in to support. So just make sure that when, if you're on a team and your leader is the same as I am, that it's not like they're not supporting you. It's they're there when you need them. So
Yes.
don't be afraid to reach out.
Yeah, and
All
I'm the
right.
same. Like I nudge, I check in. But really, again, after 7 years of learning, you can't want more for this business for somebody than they want it for themselves. So
Yes.
just also kind of being willing to separate your emotions from your mind a little bit when you're leading a team.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I ask this from everyone. And I know I prepped you on this one, but what
Yeah.
is your favorite quote or a piece of advice that you've heard in your direct sales journey that you think every direct seller needs to hear?
So I have two.
Yeah.
Uh the first one, and I use this on my kids all the time, because they will come to me and they'll be like, I'm going to ask you something, but you're just going to say no. And the response is, well, if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Hmm.
And I think you really need to take that to your direct sales business is if you don't ask somebody to host or for the sale or for the referral or for that share on social media, their answer is no. You are robbing people of the opportunity to say yes or no or maybe or whatever is in their mind. So ask the questions. If you're scared of the no's, I think that's something else you have to learn in direct sales is be willing to accept those no's and move on. The other thing is a huge Friends fan here. Uh, like and you can like say it in your mind, pivot.
Yeah.
Um, like there have been a lot of changes in 7 years. Like Facebook was dying and squee parties, like we've seen all of these things. The industry is always changing. But I mean, really, if you look back at, 21, 22, 23, post-COVID, our industry has gone through some massive changes and they're not done. We talk about this a lot in the academy.
Hmm.
They're not done. And I think you have to be willing to pivot. I am a person that does not love change, but I've also realized if I'm not open to change, then I am making the choice to kill my business. So if you don't ask, the answer is always no and pivot.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's funny that you said that about your kids because that you use that quote on them all the time. And there's a quote that I use on my kids all the time. And when they come in and they're like in a bad mood or somebody did something or they didn't like something, I just always say, you know what? It's none of your business what other people think of you.
Right. Yeah.
Just do it and carry on. Like, if you're doing the right thing, just do it and carry on. It's none of your business. And I know, mom. That's always the response that I get. But I love that we
Yeah.
have these quotes and we use them on our family.
Yeah. My little one gets pretty worked up about what people think of her, and I'll be like, Merritt, is it true?
Yeah.
No. I'm like, oh, so why does it matter? If
Yep.
it's not true, when it's not true, why does it matter?
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Now I know because I was just helping you with some of this stuff. So
You
I know that
are.
you have an awesome website out there. So can you tell the listeners where they can find you on the World Wide Web?
Yes. So thank you so much, Lisa, for helping me. I had a lot of questions over the week, but I just launched my brand new website, Roots in Reading, ROOTSINREADING.com. And my blog went live this week, planting
Awesome.
seeds. So it sounds like I'm a gardener, but really when I dug into my mission for my business and my passion, I really felt that a lot of my emotions, feelings towards my business, towards how I want to raise my children, a lot of those roots were in reading and literacy. So I just kind of thought it was a perfect fit. So I would love
Yeah.
people to check it out, and then they can follow me on Facebook from there.
Yeah, I love your website. It looks so nice and clean and it's easy to navigate. So definitely go check it out. And I just want to thank you so much, Melissa, for joining me on this episode. I know that our listeners will take a few tidbits away with them, but I look forward to seeing everyone on next week's episode of The Other 99%. And we will see you again. Take care. This episode of the Other 99% podcast has been brought to you by Spice It Up with Lisa Duck. If you're struggling with the question of what's for dinner, let Epicure help you put quick, delicious, family-friendly meals on the table in 20 minutes or less. Learn more about what Epicure has to offer. Visit spiceitupwithlisaduck.com. And if you're new to Epicure, be sure to use promo code EPIC15 in your cart at checkout for 15% off your entire first order. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to listen to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you would take a minute to rate and review the podcast, I would absolutely love it. And if you know someone who really needs to hear this podcast, please feel free to share it with them. More listeners, the better. And if you know someone who would like to be a guest on the podcast, or you yourself would like to be a guest, be sure to check the link in the show notes or visit lisaduck.com and click Be a Guest. We'll talk to you soon.